I am Stella Brown, 28 years old. I married my senior colleague's husband, Carl, who is 2 years older than me. 2 years ago. He was the one who confessed his feelings to me. After our marriage, we struggled to conceive for a while, but considering our age, we decided to start trying, and were fortunate enough to become pregnant. We are expecting our baby by the end of the year. Now that my morning sickness has subsided, and I have entered a stable period, I have started considering various preparations for childbirth. I lost my parents at a young age, so I am greatly indebted to my in-laws. They are eagerly awaiting the birth of their first grandchild. They live quite far out in the countryside, so we do not get to see each other often. It is important to take good care of your body and eat well to have a healthy baby, and they send us nutritious food and homegrown fruits and vegetables. Thanks to that, and probably because I have entered the stable period, or maybe because I have been eating too much of the fresh produce, I have gained a bit of weight. I have an older sister, Carol Taylor, who is 32 years old. She is already married and has a lovely daughter, my 3-year-old niece, Mally. My brother-in-law, Scott, who is the same age, adores Mally and has already said things like, "I will not let her get married, and any guy who asks for her hand in marriage, I will knock him flat." My sister just laughs and says he is such a fool. Well, it is a lively but loving family. When she found out I was pregnant, she became a great mentor, offering me advice. If I do not understand something, I can always ask her. As she has already gone through this experience, I plan to take her advice into consideration in various ways. She also has some baby items that she no longer uses, which will be a great help for our finances. When I go to the gynecologist, my sister accompanies me. The doctor in charge is a seasoned female doctor, Dr. Moore. Dr. Moore is a kind and trustworthy person. She once gave a lecture to both my husband and me, emphasizing that the pregnant woman should be the priority in life. Above all else, the pregnant woman must be prioritized. Really? My husband looked anxious. Of course, I'm not saying the husband should do all the housework. A pregnant woman also needs moderate exercise. However, you should never allow her to lift heavy objects or take things from high places. The basic principle is to let her exercise moderately without overworking her. I see. My husband nodded as he listened to the doctor's explanation. It's okay. I can handle cooking and shopping. So can you help me with cleaning and laundry? When I sincerely ask my husband, "Oh, that doesn't sound too different from now. Leave the heavy stuff from shopping to me, like beverages," he responds with a smile. I felt genuinely happy that my husband took the initiative to say such things. I quit my job when I got married, and now I'm working part-time at a local supermarket, doing cashier work and stocking products. I work about 3 to 4 hours a day, 3 days a week, which is not too taxing on my body. There are many older women at my workplace who have given birth, so they take care of me and sometimes give me advice. Recently, my husband's job has become busy. I used to work at the same company, so I know his job. He's an office worker, so apart from the financial closing period, he shouldn't have much overtime. When I asked him about it, he said, "I've become busier because I've been appointed to lead a new department with the younger staff. I also have to work hard because I'm becoming a father." He added, "But I'm worried he's working too hard. Just make sure you don't overdo it." "Yeah, I take breaks appropriately, so don't worry," he reassured me. Then one day, I received a call from my cousin. "Ellie, could you tell me something?" The person calling me Ellie was my cousin, Rick Taylor. He's 2 years younger than me and just got married last year. His wife's name is Jennifer. She was in the same class as my cousin, and they've been dating since high school. He recently found out she's pregnant and often comes to me, who's slightly more experienced, for advice. "So what do you want to know?" "Well, Jennifer's morning sickness is really bad. I can't stand to see her like this. She can't stand the smell of food and can't eat anything. What should I do? If she can't eat bread, isn't there always cake? That's like something Marie Antoinette would say. Wait, that's not right, is it? Bread logic? Never mind that. Just give me some real advice. What was it like when you were pregnant with Ellie?" I just gave up on the things I couldn't stand the smell of and ate what I wanted. I made sure to stay hydrated too. Oh, and keeping mint-flavored gum or candy in my mouth helped a lot. Got it, thanks. You are the best, Ellie. I'll get in touch if I have more questions. If my sister is my senior when it comes to childbirth, my cousin Rick is my junior. We live nearby, and he's self-employed, so it's easy for him to make time, and we've had plenty of chances to meet even before I got married. Meanwhile, my husband Carl's been working more weekends, saying he's busy with work. Apparently, he wants to spend his days off going through all the paperwork he's gathered during the week. I've been feeling more and more like he's changing as we spend less time together. One night, frustrated with how often he's been working weekends, I complained. Can't you do something about your work? You said you'd help with the housework, but I'm doing it all myself. And so on, complaining in such a way. Now my belly is so big that even cutting my nails is a struggle. But even then, he says work is important right now. Shouldn't you be helping me out? He doesn't only disregard my requests, but also demands my cooperation. I understand that work is important, but I'm also struggling. Look at my belly. I'm doing my best for our child too. Don't just push your own needs onto me. And also, what's this? I hear about you meeting with a guy outside recently. Wait, a guy? Aw, that must be my cousin. He's been helping me with shopping when you're not around. Your cousin? Really? You've been seeing him quite often, haven't you? He's family. Of course we see each other. Alright, just try to be patient for a little longer. Things remained a bit tense as my due date approached. Then, my labor pains started, and I went to the hospital. When I arrived with my sister, the nurse said, "Your cervix is already dilating, so let's get you to the delivery room. After the birth, you'll go straight to the maternity ward." That's what I was told. My sister called my husband, but he said he was too busy with work to attend the birth or help with preparations for my stay. So my sister stepped up and handled all of the hospital preparations. And then 5 hours after arriving at the hospital, I safely gave birth to a boy. I had cried out in pain more intense than I had imagined, but the midwife told me it had been an easy birth, and seeing my baby's adorable face made me feel like it had all been worth it. My husband came to the hospital that night. The doctor smiled and said, "Praise your wife for her hard work. You should hold the baby too." I was exhausted, lying on the bed, but I imagined the joy on my husband's face. However, he wasn't smiling at all and was silent even as he looked at the baby. And then my husband quietly said, "Is it really my kid?" That's what he said. What? What is he saying? His first words are that. I was stunned. Dr. Moore reassured me, "Give him a little time. You'll see how cute the baby is." I tried to regain my composure and followed the doctor's advice. This is our baby. Let's do our best to raise him. But my husband still didn't smile. And then he suddenly said, "Doctor, I have a request. Please do a DNA test on this child." What? I was speechless at my husband's words. Test? You really doubted it was his child? That's ridiculous. Even the doctor was taken aback. I mean, it's possible, but it's not something to say on the day of the birth, she said to my husband, who nevertheless insisted. "Please, I need this." He pressed on with the paternity test request. "Are you doubting me?" "That's horrible," I exclaimed. It really was horrible. The postpartum pain was the least of my concerns. I shouted loudly, "I just want to know the truth. If we can confirm he's our son, then that's fine, right? It'll clear things up for me too. Or are you worried about the test?" Was he implying that I had something to hide? It was really terrible. You don't have to thank me, but asking for a DNA test is the worst. The doctor, sensing a potentially fruitless argument brewing, reluctantly agreed. "All right, let's do the test." I was not happy about it, but I was certain that the child was ours. So if he insisted, I thought we might as well go through with it. As my husband left the room, tears welled up in my eyes. I had thought my husband would be happy, but instead, he doubted me to the point of requesting a DNA test. Afterwards, we followed through with the DNA test, as my husband suggested, and we decided to receive the results the following weekend when my husband would come. On the day of the report, my husband arrived at the hospital in an oddly calm state. In the hospital room, the doctor pulled out the report. I'll just state the conclusion. Yes, the results of the paternity test indicate that the probability that Carl is the father of your son is 0%. The doctor took a deep breath before delivering the news. This child is not Carl's biological child. What? I was speechless, nearly fainting. It couldn't be. There was nothing I could think of. And yet it was. My mind went blank. My husband grinned and said I knew it. Looking triumphant, he added, "So you were trying to pass off a child conceived from an affair as mine." Pointing at me, he announced, "Divorce! It's all your fault. Prepare yourself, because I'll be demanding a hefty alimony." With those parting words, he left the room. I was left in shock and disbelief. I confided in my sister and our cousin Rick. My sister listened to my story quietly and enraged said, "They've framed you. This isn't a joke. We must make them pay." She was enthusiastic. For some reason, Rick was grinning and reassured me. "Yeah, I'm all set on my end, Ellie. You can rest easy." He is confident? There's nothing to feel reassured about. My sister snapped back. "Oh right, sorry about that." Rick replied, still seeming rather amused. I couldn't tell whether they were serious or simply enjoying my misfortune. Later, I received a call from my husband. "I've decided to divorce. Of course my parents agree. I'm the victim here, so I'll be asking for alimony. I think $21,000 would be appropriate." That was the gist of it. "I'm planning to let a lawyer handle this. Is that okay?" I told him, "Sure, I don't mind. You can pay for the childbirth expenses yourself. I have no money to spend on someone else's child." He added, I told him, "Do whatever you want." "Sure, I'll do as I please. I'm a stranger now. If you can't pay the alimony, I'll take the house and land. I'm the victim, so I should at least have that right." My husband remained defiant to the end. The house and land were an inheritance from our deceased parents. "I don't care. I'm busy preparing for the divorce, so I'll contact you later." I reported my husband's call to my sister and decided to proceed with the next plan. Soon I was discharged from the hospital and my cousin Rick picked me up in his car. "You've been through a lot. How are you feeling?" "I'm doing much better now. But it's just the beginning. I have to be strong for my baby." I was looking into the life of a small being swaddled in blankets. "Yeah, I've got this. As for that husband, I'm gonna give him double, no triple what he's dished out." While having such conversations, I arrived home. My house, which I hadn't been to in a long time, was completely different. The husband had moved all his stuff out. In the emptied room, only the baby supplies I had prepared remained. And then there was his note. "I'm leaving the house. I won't come back. It's pointless to look for me at my parents'. I won't be there. Contact me only when necessary." That's what it said. If he's not returning to his parents, I know where he's going. Always quick to make arrangements like this. I sighed in exasperation. After a while, I got a call from the husband. Good timing. As soon as I answered, the husband screamed, "What the heck do you think you're doing? Sending that kind of stuff to my office?" "Oh, that? Well, you won't tell me where you are, so I had to send it to your office, right?" I replied nonchalantly, "What on earth?" I had to explain to my boss, ended up discussing our divorce. Now the whole office knows. People are looking at me weirdly. As expected, there seems to be a commotion around the husband. That has nothing to do with me. "So you did see the contents, right? You better show up at the lawyer's office. Don't try to run." "Who's running?" "You better be prepared. I'm ready for a full-on fight." It seems the notice my lawyer had arranged had arrived at his office. I could imagine the husband getting all flustered. Yes, the husband's encirclement is gradually taking shape. And then at the lawyer's office, I had a discussion with the husband about the divorce. The husband's parents were also present. On my side, my sister and her husband were with me. My sister's husband is Scott. He works in architecture, and he treats me like a real sister. And then the discussion began. My wife had an affair, had a child, deceived me into thinking it was mine, and planned to raise it on my money. This is extremely malicious, so not only will I demand compensation, but I also claim the house and land registered under my wife's name as compensation. This was the husband's main reason and terms for the divorce. Wow, that's quite assertive of him. I'm perfectly prepared, so I'm cool, my lawyer said. I understand the situation. However, even in the case of divorce due to infidelity and division of assets occur. Please do not assume that all of your demands will be granted. If there is a discrepancy in your opinions, it is my job to adjust it. I will make an accurate judgment based on the facts. Please understand that. That is how he explained it. My husband responded, in that case justice is on my side. Things like having another man's child by cheating is like fraud. Shouldn't we call the police? Something along those lines. His parents also said, Stella, this is terrible. We were so happy when we heard we were going to have our first grandchild, but to hear that it is not Carl's child. You have done such a thing. It makes us sad. The one who is most pitiful is the child who was born, right? Please pay for your sins and raise the child properly. They all chimed in. No matter what lawyer you bring out, what you have done will never be forgiven. I am completely innocent and the victim here. It is important how much he regrets and apologizes to me. Well, do you have feelings of regret or intention to apologize? The husband seemed convinced of his victory. Well, it's about time. No, the one who needs to reflect and apologize is you, Carl. What? Caught off guard by my sudden retaliation, the husband stood up without thinking. I continued calmly, just give up already. I know everything. What are you saying? I know who your lover is. I'm going to demand compensation from him too. I decided to show my trump card. In fact, I have invited someone here. Who is it? Are they on your side? My husband, now in full battle mode, screamed. I said teasingly, you're really not the sharpest tool in the shed, huh? The victim here is me, so it's a witness. That's what I told him. What a witness! I apologize for keeping you waiting. Please come in. As I said this, the door opened and 2 people walked in. My husband started to stutter. Yeah, and you are. Yes, this is Dr. Moore and my cousin Rick. Hello, the doctor greeted. Rick also. Nice to meet you, or rather, I'm Rick Taylor, Stella's cousin. He identified himself in that manner. So this is Stella's lover, and you're her cousin? Did you two make a baby? Please don't say such disrespectful things. I live nearby, and since my wife is pregnant, I've been asking for some advice. Stella is like a best friend to me. I've never seen her in a romantic way. Wow, isn't that a bit rude, Rick? I'll deal with him later. I'd like to have my say too. Dr. Moore intervened with a wry smile. I'm sorry, doctor. Please go ahead. I prompted for an explanation. Thanks. To put it simply, according to the DNA test, the baby is definitely Carl and Stella's child. What? My husband shouted in surprise. But at that time you said it wasn't my child. You bribed the test administrator to fabricate the results. When my husband, who is the hospital director, interrogated the staff member, they confessed out of fear. We also have a recording of that conversation. If I were interrogated by her husband, I might confess too. Damn it. My husband bit his lip. Stella's sister was suspicious of the test results and brought a sample of your hair to us, requesting another test. It's not a common thing to do, but after hearing her explanation, we agreed. Upon retesting, we found out the baby is indeed both of yours. And we've already fired the staff member who collaborated with you. They've compromised the reputation of our hospital. At this point, it was my father-in-law who was surprised by, Terry, why would you do such a thing? My father-in-law stood up and confronted my husband. Well, that's because, instead of my flustered husband, my sister answered for him. That's because the one who was having an affair was Carl. What? Both parents gasped, their mouths agape. One day when I was shopping in New York, I saw Carl walking with an unknown woman. It was a Saturday, and when I asked Stella, she said he was supposed to be working. I found it suspicious and asked Rick to investigate. When prompted, Rick started bragging. I used to work part-time at a detective agency when I was a student, so I'm good at surveillance, he said. He started bragging about something, and we found plenty of evidence of his affair. Here's one of their conversations. My sister then played a recording. There were the voices of Carl and a woman. He said, we'll fake the DNA test and make it look like it belongs to a stranger. This will serve as proof of the affair. We'll pin it on her cousin, we have pictures, it's an easy sell. Then I can blame Stella and divorce her. I'll get alimony, and I can even claim the child isn't mine, so I'll take the house and land. I'll be the tragic hero. There's no problem with me being with you, right? He asked. More like a scoundrel, I replied. You're like a villain from an old Western movie? And then the two of them burst into laughter. When the recording stopped, Rick added, the woman is Angela Parker. She's a junior colleague at your company and works in the same team. My husband's face turned pale. With such clear evidence laid before him, there's no room for excuses. Well, now that the facts are clear, it's my turn, the lawyer said with a smirk. Then, Darius's documents were pulled from an envelope, and this was explained. Here are Stella's requests. Firstly, she demands a divorce from Carl. She has stated that she will not pursue the matter of DNA falsification, so we won't deal with it here. She will claim damages from Carl and his lover. Additionally, she will seek a division of assets and child support from Carl. Their parents were stunned. This was a turn of events they hadn't anticipated. My husband, harshly confronted by me and my sister, was speechless and deflated. I filled out the divorce papers, signed them, and had my sister witness it. Had my husband write his part. The completed divorce papers were filled out by the lawyer in the witness section, and it was decided that they would be submitted promptly. We left the office and raised a toast in a nearby bar. And then I divorced Carl. I received a considerable amount of damages and lump sum child support. Oh, and I named our son Maurice. It appears that his parents provided the money. Carl was cut off from his family ties. He plans to repay his debts little by little. Carl's mistress was a woman from his workplace. Both were fired for disciplinary reasons when their adulterous behavior during work hours came to light. Abandoned by his mistress and alone, he failed to secure another job and now apparently works part-time at a gas station. Now I live with my son Maurice. Since he is still young, I have taken a leave of absence from work to focus on raising him. For now, we can manage with the damages I received. Maurice is adorable, and when I started taking photos and videos of him, my cousin Rick edited them and uploaded them to a video site. Surprisingly, they were well received. Thanks to becoming a popular site, we were able to make money from these videos. The income was significant, so I decided to save it for Maurice's future. I have been receiving help with child rearing from those around me. Not just my sister, but also the ladies from my part-time job have been supporting us. Especially the ladies. They have been shopping for me at the supermarket when I'm unable to and delivering it to my home. In fact, the one delivering is the store manager. It turns out he is also divorced, and the ladies had been planning to set us up. When Maurice turned 1, the store manager proposed to me. Despite being the manager, he was always humble and hardworking, treating all employees equally, which I found endearing. We had many opportunities to talk, as he would always deliver groceries to our home, and it did not take long for my positive feelings to turn into affection. I happily accepted his proposal. Maurice had grown fond of him from their many meetings, and he seemed trustworthy as he was always caring towards Maurice. However, we were unable to get married at the time. Couldn't get married immediately, so we had a preparation period. Recently, Maurice started calling him boss or daddy. It seems I've managed to grasp the happiness I once let go of. This time I'm determined to hold on to it. I made this resolution while watching Maurice's peaceful sleeping face. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. If you resonated with the content, please leave a positive rating and a comment.